Welcome everybody to another episode of What If. Today's What If is, what if Eric Bischoff bought WCW instead of Vince McMahon? What would he have done with the company? Let's find out today. So let's just say, for instance, Bischoff bought WCW, like he was supposed to in the beginning. Now, what would he have done different? In my opinion, I think he would get rid of the NWO altogether, like the group altogether. Keep the wrestlers, keep Hall and Nash, all right? Because Hall and Nash are great entertainers. As for Hogan, I think he'd put him on the shelf, and he'd wait until he left WWE. He would just be at home, right? Honestly, at that time, Hogan has done everything he possibly could, and he was going to go to WWE anyways. So now you have the Hall, Nash renew their contracts, and then you have Sting, Macho Man, and Ric Flair. Now Macho Man was employed by the Ted Turner, so he always had a contract with Ted Turner. I think that Bischoff would buy out that contract and be like, hey, here, he's with WCW now, and have Randy Savage and Sting and Flair and Hall and Nash. Those are the two big main eventers at that company. So I think Bischoff would be happy with that. But then also, there's more contracts that were up at this time of the year, and we're going in depth with those contracts as well. Now you see, Bischoff has these main eventers, but they're not going to be around for much longer, like 2, 3, 4 years tops. So what he has to do is to recreate his roster. And he had the guys down there. He had the new blood. Great. But he didn't have any more of those kind of people. So he would bring in talent from other places and use them to elevate other wrestlers, other entertainers, right? So that's one thing that he would really look into, because you can only do so much with older talent. But when you bring in younger talent, he brought in AJ Styles before he folded. That was a huge thing of being AJ Styles. So AJ Styles could be the face of the company 3, 4 years down the road when he's being actually elevated to that position. So, and then you had Tajiri was down there, Kidman was there, David Flair was down there. You had a lot of younger talent that could be used in the near future as main event status kind of wrestlers. So that's what Bischoff would have had to have done. And that's what he had in WCW. He had these talents, but they weren't quite utilizing very much. So what do you do with that? You create the cruiserweight division. You recreate the cruiserweight division once again. During this time, before WCW folded, they had a group called the Magnificent Seven. That Steiner, the Steiner brothers were part of it. Jeff Jarrett was, Ric Flair, and there was Lex Luger. There was 7 of them in that group, and that group right there could do anything basically. They'd be the face of the company for a long time until these younger talents came into play, right? First thing I think Bischoff would have done, he had Dusty Rhodes with him. Dusty Rhodes was with WWE all the way. So what do you make him head of talent relations? Get him to find all these other young up-and-coming superstars and bring them to the company with small contracts. Start out with and gradually go up, right? You would bring in Dusty Rhodes and you would get rid of Vince Russo, because Vince Russo was kind of still around a little bit. Get rid of him for once and for all. Put Dusty Rhodes talent relations, and then Bischoff for creative control. It would work. And then what you would do is, well, Booker T would go to WWE, but you would take that title off of him, you strip him of that title, and you say, hey, you know what, you're fired. Now I got the world heavyweight title. Booker T goes to WWE. Let it be. Just let it be. All right. Because he's gonna be a mid card in WWE for a while, upper mid card. He won't be another big time champion for a while, and we've seen that down the road. So you can look for a commentating team. And at this time in the WWE, Contracts were up in January, February, okay? And they weren't signed off yet. So what Bischoff would have done, he would have taken Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, offered them lucrative contracts, and brought them to WCW, and make them part of Monday Night Nitro, and then Tony Schiavone could go to Thunder, because they had the two shows, right? So you'd have those two guys, those accommodating team. Great, it's awesome. Bobby Heenan's gone, Mean Gene's gone. You put Tony Schiavone in Mean Gene's spot as well. And then there you go, you have a commentating team that can actually make you money. Now, with this cruiserweight division, he's got guys like Rey Mysterio still under contract. You know, you have Bret Hart. Bret Hart was almost kind of in the cruiserweight kind of division at the time. But like, you got the Parka, Psychosis, got all these luchador wrestlers that you could possibly be in, and then you can actually mold them into a WCW talent to further their career, maybe being like United States champion or a television champion, bring the television title back in, and then you can have that title contested every single week like it's supposed to, right? Like that was the plan of it. So you would have that cruiserweight division constantly every time on Nitro or Thunder. And now at the same time though too, the Radicals were on a contract with WWE, but their contract was almost up as well. So what Bischoff would do, he'd bring those guys back to the WWE. You have Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Chris Benoit. The three of the four could be part of that cruiserweight division to recreate that aspect of it once again. So there's you got a good roster for cruiserweight division for Nitro and Thunder. Now at that time as well, okay, you got Booker T in WWE. Do you really want to put Stevie Ray in WWE? No, because when you have Harlem Heat dominate a tag team division, you don't want that. And it's in Bischoff's mind. So what he does, he keeps Stevie Ray under a very lucrative contract. He could be a United States champion, television champion. You know, he has the look, he has the look, the know-how. He's got everything to be that kind of champion. Maybe further down the road, be a world heavyweight champion for the company. Why not, right? Now, another contract that was up at this time, and he actually wasn't even employed by WWE, but he was used as a WWE for the Invasion angle. We're talking about Paul Heyman. He wasn't really under contract for a bit. I think he was. They came into a contract with him in like May of that year, and WCW folded in March of that year. So Bischoff would have had Paul Heyman working with younger talent in the company. So having Paul Heyman backstage would be a huge asset to him and the company. No, he's going to hire other talent. He has a Hart foundation. Bret Hart, Jim Neidhart, and the Bush Bulldog. The three men, that's a stable. That stable should have been created back in the day. But here we are. We're with the Hart Foundation confused with the Magnificent Seven, or they confused with the Four Horsemen, or anybody else. And then there's your Canadian wrestlers right there. And you need that kind of wrestlers to go into Canada to promote a company. Your company, you need Canadian wrestlers, and those would be the big guys that actually bring in and do shows for you guys there. Now, as well, here's another thing that a lot of guys don't know. Some guys do, some guys don't. Undertaker's contract was also up during this time, and he was debating if he should join WCW or stay with WWE. And if he found out that Bischoff actually bought WCW and then Bischoff offered him more money for less dates, do you think he would take it? I think he would. So you would keep that gimmick. You couldn't even call him Undertaker. You couldn't, because that's a Vince McMahon thing. But hey, Mark Calloway dressed as the Undertaker. Just call him Mark Calloway. That would be great. Now you got Undertaker and you got Sting, but you have no more title. So what do you do with that? You build those guys, build that feud up, and when you go to Halloween Havoc, that is one of your main events for Halloween Havoc, is to have Taker and Sting, a match that we've never had, that you can really have in WCW, because Taker had legitimate publicity. People loved him, and wherever he went, that's where your fan base would go to as well. So Bischoff would have created a great fan base for WCW when Mark went over there. And him wrestling Sting, come on, you can't get any better than that, right? Also at this time too, a lot of guys don't know this, but there was a lot of contracts that were up at this time of the year. And I think the reason why Vince McMahon bought out WCW is to keep those contracts. He didn't want to lose them. So Steve Austin wasn't in a contract. And Steve Austin at this time, he didn't want to be in WWE anymore. He felt like he was being used right. He didn't want to be around, but he was there because of the money. Now, let's say Bischoff bought WCW and say, hey, Austin, I'll offer you a lucrative contract. Stay with us for 5 years, and we'll make you into a better superstar you were before. And we'll go in that direction and make some deals with Austin. And I think Austin would go back to WCW if Bischoff offered him more money, less dates, and more publicity. He would go for that. I think he would go for that. Let's just say, for instance, he went for that. And he's like, hey, Vince, I'm done with you guys. Go to WCW. Okay, so you got all these wrestlers now. All right, and we never had social media back in the day that we do nowadays. Now, Bischoff has Taker. Hasn't done the show yet. Okay, has not done the show a single yet. That's his show, and nobody knows what's happening with Mark Heller. Nobody knows. Okay, Bischoff does a show. At the end of the show, Taker comes out, cuts a promo, and at the end of the promo, he's like, Vince McMahon, rest in peace. And the show cuts. That would just blow the roof off of any arena, any stadium, anywhere. Having Taker in WCW saying, Vince McMahon, rest in peace, seals the coffin for what WCW is going to do to WWE. The Monday Night Wars has been resurrected once again. You have your roster. You have the men. You settle the cruiserweights. You have the United States titles. You have the World Heavyweight title. But the women's division. The women's division was pretty scarce at that time. They didn't know what to do with it. You had Medusa there. You had Asia there, and among other ones like Molly Holly was there. But they're all used as ballets and stuff. Let's get them interactive more. So what do? Well, you got Sherry. Sherry is the only actual wrestler, entertainer. You got to get somebody to wrestle Sherry. And again, at this time too, China's contract was up, and I think she just didn't want to be around anymore. So she signs with WCW. China and Sherry in a feud for the women's title would make the women's title legit. That's where you create your women's division is around those two. Because let's face it, you couldn't get any better than that for a women's division. That there is your main eventers for that division. So every other woman in that company would have to rise up to become a women's champion. So that's why you're bringing in China for that. You've done bombshells with the bombshells all year. All right, you got Sting and then Taker, and let's just say Sting beats Taker. Let's just say he does it. He's the WWE champion, but they still have a feud going. And you have the Magnificent Seven versus the Horsemen, and New Blood versus the Hart Foundation. You have all these concepts going on, plus the Cruiserweight division. You're set. You're ready to go. You got Paul Heyman working with talent backstage. But also, here's the thing that's going to seal the coffin with the WWE. Heyman notices Brock Lesnar in OVW. He says, Brock, come to WCW. Let's do this. And that's what Brock does. December of that year, Brock Lesnar signs with WCW, and he makes an impact. Now, he didn't make a big of an impact as he would nowadays, right? But you have Brock Lesnar at WCW, and who do you have feuding with them? Goldberg. Build up for Goldberg. Goldberg is still around. And that's how you succeed in the first year of WCW. And you continue forward with that. You take the talent you have and you create more talent. And with Taker, Austin, Hart Foundation, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, Sting, like, Vince is scared. Vince is scared. He's like, okay, what can I do now? He's gonna bring in Hogan for what? A month, 2, 3, 4. Hall and Nash are gonna be in WCW. They're not gonna go anywhere. The big men are in WCW, and Bischoff has all the money in the world to do what he wants, when he wants, how he wants. So there you go. The first year of WCW, I believe Bischoff would have done that, and with all these lucrative contracts, yeah, he's gonna fork out the money, but in the end, the payback for it is gonna be a strong. This will be huge. You recreate the television championship, which would be contested every single show, Nitro, Nitro, Thunder, and the pay-per-views. Yeah, WCW back on the rise again with Eric Bischoff at the helm. No more Vince Russo or any of his clan, gone. Jeff Jarrett's still around, but Jeff Jarrett's not going to be in main event status because you've already brought in your main event people for that show. And chances are probably Jeff Jarrett probably lead WCW once again. But would he go to WWE or would he create a new group, TNA? You never know. But there's my take on what would happen if Bischoff bought WCW and Vince didn't. Thanks for watching my show today. I much appreciate it. Tomorrow, we're going to dive into another thing. What if Undertaker never had the winning streak for WrestleMania? Instead, he had the losing streak. Be very interesting. I got some good stuff for you guys on that tomorrow. But hit that like button on here. Subscribe to my channel. We're going to do a lot of what ifs around here. Fantasy bookings and stuff. So you have a good day. I'll have a great day, actually. It's still snowing outside here in northern Canada. Of course, Canada, right? And we will contact you tomorrow when we do another What If.